subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts. The shocking moment, Emma stood frozen, her hands trembling slightly as the heavy glass doors of the Grand Hotel lobby slammed behind the man. The roar of his anger still echoed in her ears. "Why did you feed her?" the man had shouted, his voice sharp enough to cut through the polished marble silence. His eyes were cold, stormy with a mixture of fury and something else, something Emma couldn't name yet. The little girl beside him clung quietly to his hand, her eyes wide but silent. Emma's heart ached for the child, who seemed both fragile and lost in a world she didn't understand. The child's small face was pale and marked by a soft tremble. Emma glanced down at the plate in her hands. It was barely touched. Soft mashed potatoes, tender chicken, carefully cut vegetables. She'd brought it quietly while the girl sat silently at the table. No one else in the bustling hotel restaurant had noticed or cared. The man, Richard, had noticed, and he'd exploded. The hotel lobby was a swirl of crystal chandeliers and polished floors. Yet to Emma, it felt cold and hostile now. People paused their conversations to glance at her, whispering. A security guard approached, eyeing her with suspicion. Emma took a shaky breath, clutching the plate tighter. The child's disabled wheelchair stood nearby, empty now. The little girl, Lily, had rolled away toward the elevator, moving slowly as if exhausted. Emma wanted to follow her, to make sure she was okay, but Richard's harsh words still rang in her ears. "Don't touch her food. She doesn't need charity." Emma's lips trembled. Charity, that's not what she had done. She had just cared. The scene was surreal. Minutes earlier, Emma had noticed the little girl sitting alone at the corner table, her face pale and distant. Richard had been on a call, impatient and distracted, barely glancing at his daughter. No one else was paying attention. Emma, wiping her hands on her apron, had quietly taken a plate from the kitchen, filled with soft food she thought the girl might like. She had brought it over, careful not to disturb the guests. The child's eyes had flickered up to meet hers for a moment, a flash of gratitude or recognition, before returning to stare at the half-empty plate in front of her. That small moment of connection had been enough for Emma. But then Richard had noticed. Richard's anger was fierce. He snatched the plate from the table and threw it toward the trash, food splattering everywhere. Emma had never seen anyone treat a child like that before. "Who do you think you are?" Richard demanded, turning on Emma with a glare that made her stomach twist. "You don't know anything about her. I just wanted to help," Emma whispered, voice barely steady. "Help?" Richard laughed bitterly. "She doesn't need charity from a waitress. She needs treatment, real treatment, but that's not what you can give." Emma's throat tightened. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know what he knew or didn't know. Then something caught her eye. The girl, Lily, was clutching a crumpled piece of paper, her small fingers trembling. As she held it close to her chest, Emma moved closer, curious. The note had strange symbols on it, nothing like normal handwriting. Lily's eyes flickered toward the exit, as if she feared someone might take it away. Emma's heart raced. Was this just a girl's doodle, or something more? Before Emma could react, Richard grabbed Lily's hand and pulled her toward the elevator. "Come on," he said roughly. Emma's eyes met the child's one last time. There was fear, but also something else. Hope. A silent plea. The elevator doors shut with a soft ding. Emma looked around, suddenly feeling exposed. The hotel guests' whispers swirled around her. The security guard was watching her now, suspicious. "Are you causing trouble here?" the guard asked, stepping closer. "No," Emma said quickly. "I was just trying to help." The guard didn't look convinced. Emma's gaze dropped to the floor, and something caught her eye. A small silver key lay near her feet. It hadn't been there before. Emma picked it up, turning it over in her palm. It was old-fashioned, simple, no label, no number, just a key. Her mind raced. Why would the little girl drop this? Was it hers? Was it important? Was it the reason Richard was so angry? Emma felt a strange pull, something beyond kindness. This, a key, was a secret waiting to be unlocked. She tucked the key into her apron pocket just as the hotel manager approached. "Ms. Collins," he said politely, "you'll have to leave. This isn't the place for disturbances." Emma nodded silently, feeling the weight of eyes on her back as she left the lobby. Outside, the sun was setting behind the city skyline. The warm glow was at odds with the cold ache in Emma's chest. Why had she felt so drawn to Lily? Why had Richard reacted like that? And what was the secret behind that key? Emma walked slowly toward her small apartment nearby, her thoughts spinning. She didn't know it yet, but this moment, the small act of feeding a stranger's child, was about to change everything. Later that night, alone in her apartment, Emma sat by the window, the silver key resting on the wooden table in front of her. Her fingers traced its smooth edges as she replayed the day's events in her mind. The hotel, the angry man, the silent child, the strange note, everything tangled together like threads in a mystery. She thought of Lily's eyes, the mix of fear and hope, and wondered what kind of life the little girl led. Emma was no stranger to hard times herself. She'd spent years working as a waitress, scraping by, dreaming of a better life. But nothing had prepared her for this moment, this strange, sudden connection to a family so different from hers. Suddenly, her phone buzzed on the table, a message from an unknown number. "You don't know what you've gotten involved in. Stay away." Emma's heart skipped a beat. Was this a warning? Who was watching her? The next morning, Emma decided she had to know more. The key was too strange to ignore, and Lily's situation haunted her thoughts. She returned to the hotel, weaving through the grand lobby toward the concierge desk. "Can you tell me anything about the little girl?" she asked casually. The concierge's face tightened. "Lily Andrews," he said slowly. "She's Mr. Richard Hart's daughter. The family keeps very private. The girl's condition is complicated. She rarely leaves the house." Emma nodded, biting back questions. The concierge's eyes flicked to the elevator where she had last seen Lily. Later that day, Emma lingered outside the hotel, watching the flow of people, hoping to catch a glimpse of Richard or Lily. Hours passed. Just as she was about to leave, a soft cry caught her attention. She turned to see Lily, struggling in her wheelchair near the parking lot, alone. Emma rushed over. "Lily?" she said gently. The girl looked up, tears streaming down her face. "I'm hungry," Lily whispered. Emma's heart broke. She didn't hesitate. She opened her bag and pulled out a small sandwich she had packed from home. "Here," Emma said, softly, offering it to Lily. The girl's face lit up for the first time. Emma sat down beside her, sharing what little food she had. Suddenly, headlights flooded the parking lot. Richard's car screeched to a stop. He jumped out, furious. "What are you doing with my daughter?" he barked. Emma looked up, meeting his stormy eyes. "I'm just helping," she said. Richard's expression softened just for a moment, then hardened again. "This isn't safe. You don't understand." Emma shook her head. "I want to understand." For the first time, Richard's mask cracked. He looked at Emma not as a stranger, but as someone who might see the truth. "Come inside," he said quietly. Emma hesitated, but curiosity and compassion won. She followed Richard into the dimly lit hotel lounge. Inside, Richard pulled a chair and sat down, his eyes fixed on Lily, who was quietly watching them. "Lily's condition," he began, voice low, "is more than most people realize." Emma listened, heart aching. "There are things, dangerous things," Richard said, glancing nervously around. He pulled out a folded piece of paper, the same strange note Emma had seen before. "Someone wants to take her away from me. From us." Emma swallowed hard. She looked at Lily, fragile. And silent, "I want to help," she said. Richard studied her. "Maybe you already are." The night ended with more questions than answers. Emma left with the silver key burning in her pocket and a promise to herself. She would protect Lily, no matter the cost. The secret unfolds. Emma's small apartment was dimly lit, the evening shadows stretching long across the floor. The silver key lay on the table, cold and heavy, with unspoken secrets. She couldn't shake the weight of the man's words from her mind. Someone wants to take her away from me, from us. What danger was lurking behind the polished facade of the hotel and the millionaire's angry outburst? The next morning, Emma woke before dawn. The questions burned too fiercely inside her to stay in bed. She slipped on her worn coat and headed out, the cool morning air brisk against her skin. Today, she decided, she would find out everything she could about Lily and her father, Richard Hart. Her first stop was the city library. Emma knew public records and news archives could sometimes reveal clues about powerful people and hidden stories. She sat at a computer terminal and typed in Richard Hart's name. Several articles popped up. Headlines told of his rise from modest beginnings to a millionaire businessman who built a tech empire. But one article caught Emma's eye. Hart family tragedy. Daughter's rare illness. Baffles doctors. The article was nearly 2 years old. It spoke of Lily's birth with a rare genetic disorder that left her with severe physical disabilities and fragile health. Doctors were still unsure of the best treatment. Emma's heart ached reading the words. She pictured Lily struggling, so silent and fragile in the hotel lobby. But something else in the article made Emma pause. It mentioned rumors of threats against the Hart family, mysterious letters and visits, warning of harm. Emma's fingers tightened on the edge of the keyboard. There was more than illness here. Danger. That afternoon, Emma went to the hotel again. This time, she was determined to see if she could talk to someone who might shed light on the situation. At the concierge desk, she asked carefully about Lily and Richard. The concierge, a polished woman named Marla, smiled politely but with a guarded expression. "I'm sorry," Marla said, "but the Hart family is very private. They don't like to discuss personal matters." Emma nodded, sensing the walls closing in. Not willing to give up, Emma wandered toward the hotel's business center. She slipped inside unnoticed and began looking for any clues. A business card, a brochure, something that might explain Richard's current troubles. Suddenly, a soft noise startled her, a small, fluttering sound from beneath the counter. Emma crouched and found a worn leather notebook. She opened it carefully. The pages were filled with hurried handwriting, sketches and strange symbols, similar to the note Lily held. Emma's breath caught as she read a line. "Must protect Lily. Trust no one. The key opens the truth." Her fingers traced the words. The key in her pocket suddenly felt even heavier. Emma was so absorbed she didn't hear footsteps approaching. "Can I help you?" a voice asked sharply. Emma looked up to see Richard Hart standing in the doorway, his face unreadable. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Richard said quietly, "That notebook shouldn't be here." Emma held it out. "I found it. I think it's important." He took it, his eyes darkening. "You don't know what you're getting into." Emma met his gaze steadily. "I want to help." Richard sighed, then gestured toward the hotel bar. "Come, with me." They sat at a corner table, away from prying eyes. Richard explained more about Lily's condition. It wasn't just physical disability. There were complications doctors couldn't explain. Strange seizures, unexplained symptoms, and the threats were very real. "Someone wants to take her," Richard said, voice low, "to use her as leverage against me." Emma's heart pounded. Then Richard revealed something unexpected. The note Lily had. It's a code, a warning from someone close. Emma's mind raced. Who could be close enough to warn a child? Richard hesitated. "I don't trust my assistant anymore. She's been acting strangely." Emma thought back to the hotel. Staff, the polished smiles, the sideways glances. Why didn't you tell me all this before? Emma asked softly. Richard looked away. Because I didn't want anyone else involved, especially someone like you. Emma's eyes flashed with hurt. I'm not someone like you. I'm just trying to do what's right. Richard's expression softened. Maybe that's what scares me. The conversation was interrupted by a sudden knock at the door. Richard tensed. Stay here. He opened the door to a young woman, his assistant. Her smile was too perfect. Richard, we need to talk. Emma watched from the shadows as the assistant spoke in low, urgent tones. When Richard returned, his face was grim. She's not who she says she is. Emma swallowed hard. Later that night, Emma couldn't sleep. The secrets tangled in her mind like vines. She clutched the silver key again. What truth did it unlock? The next day, Emma returned to the library. She dug deeper, researching codes, hidden messages, even the assistant's background. She found a troubling connection. The assistant had ties to a rival company trying to sabotage Richard's business. Emma's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Stop digging or you'll regret it. Her heart raced, but Emma refused to back down. Determined to protect Lily and uncover the truth, Emma arranged a secret meeting with Richard in a quiet cafe. They shared guarded words, each weighing how much trust to give. Emma revealed what she'd learned about the assistant. Richard nodded grimly. We have to act fast. Suddenly, a loud crash startled them. The cafe door slammed open. A group of men burst in, eyes scanning the room. Emma's breath caught. One of them pointed at Richard. You're coming with us. Emma grabbed Lily's hand, heart pounding. But Lily was nowhere to be found. The mystery deepened. The danger was closer than ever. Emma realized this was no longer just about feeding a child. It was a fight for survival. The vanishing, the cafe, fell into chaos the instant the men barged in. Emma's heart thundered as she grabbed Lily's hand, but to her horror, the girl was gone. Where? Emma's eyes darted around, desperate, but Lily was nowhere in sight. Richard, held roughly by the men, tried to resist. Let her go. You have no right. One of the men snarled. You're coming with us, Hart. No one else gets involved. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she struggled to remain calm. She wanted to shout, fight back, but she was alone and unarmed. The men shoved Richard toward the door. Emma took a shaky step forward. Where's Lily? The leader of the men sneered. That's none of your concern. Stay out of this if you want to live. Richard's eyes locked with Emma's. There was fear in them, fear for his daughter and for her. Then the men pushed him outside, slamming the door behind them. Emma stood frozen, the cafe's din fading into silence. Lily was gone. Tears blurred Emma's vision. Her world spun wildly. An hour later, the search begins. Emma's first instinct was to call the police. But when she tried, a chilling voice answered, Don't. If you value your life and Lily's, stay out of this. The line went dead. Panic surged, but Emma forced herself to breathe. She needed allies. She reached out to Marla, the concierge from the hotel, hoping for any help or clues. Marla met her at the hotel lobby, face pale. I heard what happened, Marla said softly. You're in danger, more than you realize. Emma's eyes narrowed. Why didn't you warn me before? Marla sighed. Because I was afraid, and because I didn't know who to trust. Marla explained what she knew about Richard's enemies. Powerful people, jealous of his success, willing to use any means to bring him down. She warned Emma that Lily's kidnapping was only the beginning. Emma's resolve hardened. She couldn't let Lily disappear into the shadows. Meanwhile, Richard's ordeal. The men dragged Richard into a black van waiting outside the cafe. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Richard's mind raced, trying to plan an escape, but the men were professionals. One of them, a tall man with cold eyes, finally spoke. Richard, You've been a thorn in our side for too long. Your daughter is the bargaining chip we need." Richard's jaw tightened. "You'll never get away with this." The man smiled thinly. "We already have." Emma's unexpected ally back at the hotel. Emma sat in the lobby, feeling overwhelmed but determined. Marla approached quietly. "There's someone you should meet," she said. Emma followed her through, winding hallways to a small office. Inside was a man in his early 40s, wearing a neat suit but with wary eyes. Michael Carter, Richard's longtime friend and former business partner. Michael's expression was grim. "We don't have much time. Richard's in serious trouble." He revealed that he'd been quietly investigating the threats and sabotage against Richard. "There's a mole in the company, someone feeding information to our rivals." Emma frowned. "You think the assistant is involved?" Michael nodded. "She's more dangerous than anyone imagined." Emma told Michael about the notebook and the coded messages. Michael's eyes widened. This could be the key to finding Lily and exposing whoever's behind this. Decoding the message together, Emma and Michael began decoding the notebook's strange symbols. Hours passed, and fragments of a hidden message emerged. A set of instructions, warnings, and a name. Ilara. Michael frowned. Ilara is the code name for a secret operative. We thought she was just a myth. Emma's pulse quickened. They traced Ilara to a shadowy figure connected to a rival company, someone with a history of sabotage and espionage. A dangerous decision. Emma faced a choice: stay hidden and safe, or take the risk to find Lily. Herself, her heart told her there was no other option. Michael handed her a phone. "If you're going to do this, you won't be alone. Call me the moment you find anything." Emma nodded, gripping the phone tightly. Nightfall. A silent stakeout. Emma parked her car near the outskirts of the city where Michael's information led. The location was an old warehouse, quiet and foreboding. Her stomach churned with fear and hope. She watched, waited, every sound amplified in the still night. Suddenly, headlights appeared. A black van rolled to a stop near the warehouse. Emma's breath caught. Could Lily be inside? The van's doors opened, and two figures stepped out. One was the assistant, her face cold and unreadable. Emma's hands shook as she dialed Michael. The assistant pulled a small box from the van. Emma's eyes widened as she recognized it. It was the same box from the notebook sketches, something Richard guarded fiercely. Emma's phone buzzed. Michael's voice whispered urgently, "Don't confront her alone. Wait for backup." Emma's heart pounded louder, but the woman suddenly turned toward Emma's car. Their eyes met. The assistant smiled, a cruel, knowing smile. Emma's cover was blown. She started the engine, but the assistant's figure disappeared into the warehouse shadows. A new lead inside the warehouse. The assistant met with a shadowy man. They spoke in low voices, revealing their plan to sell Lily to the highest bidder. People who wanted to use her condition to control Richard. Emma's world shattered. Lily was more than a bargaining chip. She was a pawn in a deadly game. Desperation and resolve. Emma called Michael again. "We have to act. Now." Michael agreed to bring a team, but warned, "This will get violent." Emma clenched her fists. "If it's the only way to save her, then I'm ready." Back at the hotel, Richard, still captive, refused to break. He thought of Lily, her smile, her fight. He whispered, "Hold on, Lily. We're coming." The rescue and the betrayal. The warehouse sat in eerie silence, a hulking skeleton of rust and shadows, swallowing every sound Emma made as she crept closer. Her heart pounded, each beat echoing the urgency she felt inside. She was alone, except for the phone in her hand, linked to Michael and his team. "Stay quiet," Michael had warned. "They're dangerous and desperate." Emma's breath hitched as she watched the assistant, the woman who had once smiled politely in the hotel, move deliberately through the dim corridors, clutching the small box from the van. That box was the key, the source of the mystery around Lily's condition, Suddenly, footsteps echoed behind Emma. She spun around. Michael and two men from his team appeared, guns drawn but silent. Michael gave a quick nod. "We move now." Together they slipped inside the warehouse, hearts racing. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Voices murmured in a distant room. Emma's pulse hit a fever pitch as they drew closer. Then she saw her, Lily. The small girl sat quietly on a bench, eyes wide but weary, surrounded by shadows. "Lily," Emma whispered, tears welling up. The girl looked up, recognition sparking in her gaze. But before Emma could reach her, the assistant appeared, blocking the way. Her smile was cold, merciless. "You're too late," she said. Michael stepped forward, voice steady. "This ends now. Let the girl go." The assistant laughed bitterly. "You think this is just about money? It's about power, control." Suddenly, gunshots rang out. Chaos exploded. In the frenzy, Emma grabbed Lily's hand and ran, dodging crates and shadows. Michael and his team covered them, fighting back the attackers. Outside, the cold night air hit Emma's face. She held Lily close, but something wasn't right. Lily winced. Clutching her chest, Emma's heart broke. Back at the safe house, Michael's team rushed Lily inside. A doctor among them checked her pulse and breathing. "We need to get her to a hospital. Now." Emma nodded, fighting back tears. Richard was nowhere to be found. The last they'd heard, the kidnappers had taken him separately. Emma's mind raced. How could she save Richard now? A shocking revelation as Lily rested. Emma sifted through the assistant's belongings left behind at the warehouse. In her pocket, Emma found a USB drive. Curious, she plugged it into her laptop. The files were damning. They contained emails, contracts, and secret plans, evidence that someone close to Richard had betrayed him. And the biggest shock, his trusted assistant was a pawn, but the mastermind was someone unexpected. Emma's blood ran cold as she read the name on the documents. Michael. Carter. Betrayal cuts. Deep Emma stared at the screen in disbelief. Michael, Richard's friend, her only ally, had been orchestrating the entire kidnapping. Why? Greed. Revenge. Her phone buzzed. A message from Michael. "Stop digging or Lily pays the price." Emma's hands trembled. She had to warn Richard. But how? Richard's captivity, meanwhile. Richard sat in a dim room, tied to a chair, bruised but defiant. His captors paced nearby, arguing over the ransom demands. Richard's mind was sharp, looking for any weakness to exploit. He whispered Lily's name, promising he would not let them win. Emma's plan determined to save both Richard and Lily. Emma devised a risky plan. She would confront Michael directly. With Lily safe for the moment, Emma took the USB drive to a trusted reporter she knew from her days working at the cafe. Together, they prepared to expose Michael's betrayal. Confrontation, Emma arranged to meet Michael at a neutral location, a quiet park bench under the city's flickering streetlights. She didn't come alone. The reporter was nearby, ready to capture everything. Michael arrived calm and collected. "I expected you to run," he said. Emma stood firm. "I'm here to end this. You won't hurt Richard or Lily anymore." Michael smiled thinly. "Do you really think it's that simple?" A sudden twist before Emma could respond. A car screeched to a halt nearby. Out jumped Richard, bruised but alive, flanked by police officers. Michael's face twisted in shock and rage. Emma's heart soared. Richard took Emma's hand, whispering, "You saved us." The aftermath, Michael was arrested, his plans unraveling in the spotlight. The betrayal shook everyone, but justice was served. Lily's health improved with the help of specialists. Emma and Richard grew closer, their bond forged through hardship. Together, they began to heal. Final thoughts. Sometimes the deepest wounds come from those we trust most. But through courage and truth, even the darkest betrayals can be overcome. Shattered trust and new beginnings. The morning sun spilled golden light through the hospital window, falling softly on Lily's pale face. Emma sat beside the bed, holding Lily's small hand, feeling a fragile peace for the first time in weeks. Richard stood quietly in the corner, rubbing the bruise on his cheek, the weight of recent events etched on his face. Though his body was battered, his eyes held a fire of determination. "I never thought this nightmare would end," Richard whispered, voice low and hoarse. Emma smiled, squeezing Lily's hand gently. "It's not over yet, but we're stronger now, together." Facing the fallout, the news of Michael Carter's arrest and betrayal spread quickly. Richard's company reeled from the scandal, trust shattered among his employees and partners. At the same time, whispers circulated about Emma, the waitress, who had dared to fight a billionaire's dark secrets. Some admired her courage, others doubted her motives. Emma ignored the whispers. Her focus was clear: protecting Lily, helping Richard rebuild, and finding peace for herself. Healing wounds, Lily's condition demanded constant care and attention. Emma learned about therapies, treatments, and support groups. She became Lily's fierce protector, determined to give her the best life possible. Richard, too, was changed. The betrayal left scars deeper than any physical wound, but Emma saw a new side of him, vulnerable yet resilient, broken but hopeful. Unexpected visitors. One afternoon, as Emma arranged Lily's medications, the doorbell rang. She opened the door to find a woman standing there, a stranger with kind eyes and a warm smile. "Hello, Emma," the woman said softly. "I'm Dr. Ilara Morgan. I specialize in rare pediatric conditions. I heard about Lily and want to help." Emma hesitated but invited her in. Dr. Morgan's presence brought a glimmer of hope. Her expertise offered new possibilities for Lily's treatment. Secrets unveiled as weeks passed. Emma and Richard's lives slowly regained some normalcy, but a question lingered. Who had truly orchestrated the entire kidnapping? Michael was only a pawn. Emma's mind returned to the USB drive and the mysterious Ilara codename she and Michael had uncovered. One night, Emma found a hidden folder on the USB drive, encrypted and locked. With Dr. Morgan's help, they cracked the code. Inside was a video, a secret meeting between Michael and a shadowy figure. The figure's voice was distorted but chillingly familiar. It revealed a plan to use Lily's condition as leverage to control Richard's empire. Emma's heart pounded as the camera panned to reveal the mastermind's face, someone she never expected. A family torn. The next day, Emma confronted Richard. She showed him the video, her voice trembling. "Richard, it's someone close to us." Richard's face darkened with disbelief and anger. "Who?" Emma hesitated, then said quietly, "Your brother, Daniel." Richard's world shattered again. He hadn't spoken to Daniel in years after a bitter feud, but now the betrayal cut deeper than before. The confrontation. Richard knew he had to face Daniel. He arranged a meeting at their family estate, tension thick in the air. Daniel arrived, smug and unapologetic. "You think you're the only one who's suffered?" he sneered. "I did what I had to do to survive. You had everything handed to you." Richard's voice was cold. "You put my daughter in danger. You destroyed our family." Daniel shrugged. "Collateral damage. You always wanted the spotlight." I was left in the shadows. Emma stood silently, watching the brothers' bitter exchange. A new threat as the confrontation escalated. An unexpected visitor arrived, a man in a dark suit, watching from the shadows. He made a call, speaking quietly, but with menace. Michael failed. "We need a new plan." Emma noticed him and felt a chill run down her spine. The threat was far from over. Emma's resolve that night. Emma sat beside Lily's bed, her heart heavy but determined. She whispered, "We'll get through this, Lily, no matter what." She knew the road ahead was dangerous and uncertain, But with Richard by her side and the truth as their weapon, they would fight. Truth, justice, and new beginnings. The dawn crept slowly over the city skyline, casting a pale light on the mansion where Richard and Emma now prepared for the battle that would end everything. Inside, the atmosphere was tense but resolute. Emma stood beside Richard in the grand living room, their hands clasped tightly. The weight of the past weeks, the betrayals, the kidnappings, the near losses weighed heavily, but hope flickered in their eyes. "This is it," Richard said quietly. "We expose Daniel and whoever else is behind this. No more secrets." Emma nodded, feeling the steady calm of determination. The final evidence, thanks to Dr. Morgan's expertise and the help of the trusted reporter, Emma had gathered irrefutable proof, financial records, intercepted communications, and the decrypted video clips showed Daniel's direct involvement with a shadowy network seeking to dismantle Richard's empire and leverage Lily's condition to gain control. The reporter prepared the story for release, a bombshell that would shake the city and bring justice. A dangerous meeting before going public, Richard insisted on confronting the shadowy man behind the new threat. The meeting was set in a secluded location outside the city, a place chosen for its isolation. Emma and Richard arrived under heavy guard. The man emerged from the shadows, tall, cold-eyed and calculating. "You think you can stop us?" he sneered. "You have no idea what's really at stake." Richard's voice was unwavering. "We're ending this, for Lily, for our family." The man laughed. "Then prepare for the fallout." Unexpected allies, as tensions flared. A surprising figure stepped forward. Daniel's former partner, a woman named Sophia, who had turned against him after witnessing his cruelty. She handed over incriminating evidence, revealing the full scope of Daniel's conspiracy, including illegal dealings, fraud, and plans to sabotage Richard's company. With Sophia's help, Richard and Emma gained a critical advantage. The public reveal, the next morning, the reporter's article went live. The story shocked the world. How a man's greed had endangered his own family. How a waitress's courage had saved a child and uncovered dark secrets. The public rallied behind Emma and Richard, supporting them through the storm. Healing and forgiveness. In the days that followed, Richard and Daniel's relationship crumbled, beyond repair, but Richard found strength in forgiveness, not for Daniel but for himself. Emma watched as Richard learned to let go of bitterness, focusing instead on the future. Lily's health continued to improve, thanks to Dr. Morgan's care and Emma's tireless love. A new beginning. Months later, Emma, Richard, and Lily stood together in a sunlit garden. The past was behind them, scars healing but memories sharp. Richard looked at Emma, gratitude and love shining in his eyes. "Thank you for never giving up." Emma smiled, her heart full. They had faced betrayal, danger, and despair, but they had found strength in each other. The lesson Emma reflected on everything she had endured. Sometimes losing everything is the only way to discover who you really are. Betrayal had tested her, grief had crushed her, but hope had saved her. She realized that true power wasn't in wealth or control, it was in love, courage, and the will to fight for what mattered most. Closing scene. As the sun set, Emma tucked Lily into bed, whispering a promise. "No matter what comes, we'll face it together." Lily smiled sleepily, comforted by the warmth and strength beside her. Emma looked out the window, the city lights twinkling like distant stars. Her journey was far from over, but for the first time, she felt ready. Sometimes the darkest storms bring the brightest dawns. The end.